I want documentation. I want documentation. And if it isn't written down and delivered to the employee, it didn't happen. Make sense? Okay, well, let's segue over to page 5, and we're going to look on through page 6 and 7. The diagram is on page 7. This is the structure. Just get this in your mind here. At the basis of everything we're going to talk about in here today are your informal notes. The little notes that you take, okay? And so you take little notes. And first of all, everyone here, all you supervisors, absolutely, positively should be taking notes on your employees. And the truth of the matter is 80% of all those notes should be good things, because those informal notes are only there. They only exist to jar your memory. And that's it, to help you remember. Okay. I actually used to have a guy who was a supervisor. His name was Bob. And this will really date me. Bob ran the microfiche department at a mortgage loan company. Okay, freeze right there. Let's just check for the younger folks. Has anybody here never heard of microfiche? Anybody here have no idea what I'm talking about when I say microfiche? Anybody out there? That's a foreign concept. Okay, yeah, nobody's raising. Okay, so we must have a little more mature group. Microfiche are those little blue plastic slides that we used to put documents onto. And then to do research, you would put those little blue slides or little clear slides under a machine and you'd read them. This is what you see in some of the older movies. Okay. Well, Bob was having trouble with one of his employees. He's having trouble with Sally. And he came down, he said, hey, I'm having trouble with Sally. I got to put together a written warning. And I was the HR director at the time. Well, I said, bring me your notes and we'll put it together. Well, Bob brings down this manila folder, opens it up on my desk, and all these napkins fall out. Okay, so what Bob would do is once a week or once every 10 days, he would go to the lunchroom, eat his lunch, early or late, and he'd pull the napkins out of the dispenser and he'd write notes about each employee. Now, freeze right there. If you're doing that every week to 10 days, taking notes on something that your employees have done, at the end of the year, that's probably about 40 notes. That is more than enough data to put into your performance appraisals, and that should jar your memory enough for the written warnings. Okay, so actually, I'll tell you, napkins works really good. We took them up to the conference room. They're like index cards. We could separate them by category. We could put them in chronological order. It was great. Now, freeze right there. I don't care how you take your notes. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Actually, I've got clients who like to use audio, voice memos. Great. Download them and listen to them later. Wonderful. Okay. Anybody in here have a system that you like for taking your informal notes regarding your employees? Anybody have something that they want to share? It's your little secret to life here. Anybody got anything? Like a notebook. I have a folder where I jot something on scrap paper and throw it in. Wonderful. Works great, doesn't it? It jars your memory. Does anybody do it digitally? Like in your computer or anything like that? Does anybody do that? Okay, you have to come up with something. You have to come up with something, because the way I want you to write a written warning, and in a couple of weeks, we are going to talk about performance appraisals. And I always love this. I'll get calls from companies. Hey, we want to do some performance appraisal training. Can you come on in and train? I say, great, absolutely. I do that a lot. And this will get you ready for 2023. No. The time to start is a year before you're going to be delivering the performance appraisal. Okay, so think about this. With Bob, we sat down, we took all of these notes that he had on Sally, and that gave us all kinds of specific instances of her behavior to put into the written warning. I will tell you right now, if you do not take informal notes, you will never have the specific instances to complete the written warning the way I want it completed. And understand, I'm not trying to win lawsuits. I'm trying to put these things together so that an attorney is going to read it and go, whoa, I'm not going up against that. Now, think about this. The informal notes only exist to put down into performance appraisals and written warnings. Now, there is your written documentation. Okay. Once you're done with the informal notes, you throw them away. You don't need them anymore. Again, the only reason you got them is to jar your memory. What happened when? Now, those performance appraisals and written warnings, you will be using those in your employee relations. I'll tell you, a big part of good employee relations is firing people. Not your good ones, but hey, we don't always hit home runs with our hires. And sometimes we hire people and things happen and they're not the same person we hired. Let me ask you, serious question. Who hates the bad employees worse than anybody? Who really hates the bad employees? The boss. Yeah, it makes your life miserable, doesn't it? Yeah, the coworkers, Julie, absolutely, because, oh my gosh, they got to work with them. So you will use these in employee relations. And I'll tell you, we talked about this before, creating a safe environment. Bullies. The number one job dissatisfier overwhelmingly in today's workplaces is having to work with bullies. That's our job as supervisors. That's our job to coach, to warn, and to fire the bullies. And I don't care if this is your biggest performer or not. You're making life miserable for everybody else. And you might use these in court, which is a legal proceeding, and maybe in a quasi-legal proceeding. And what's a quasi-legal proceeding? Unemployment, Ohio Civil Rights, the EEOC. So I'll tell you right now, this diagram will save you. I want those informal notes, and this has to go on your to-do list. How are you going to keep your informal notes? And I do not care how you do it. And I'll tell you, they've got software today. If you take voice notes, you take little recordings, you can convert that automatically into text, into Word. So it's written down for you.